The galaxy was vast, but news traveled fast. When the Zorathian hegemony sent its ultimatum to Earth, it wasn't just a message. It was a declaration that shook humanity to its core. For decades, humans had been small players in the grand arena of interstellar politics. They were newcomers, still learning the rules of the cosmos, while older civilizations like the hegemony ruled with iron fists cloaked in velvet diplomacy. It started with a signal, a broadcast so powerful it drowned out every radio station, television channel, and internet feed on Earth. No one could ignore it. The voice that spoke was cold, precise, and utterly devoid of emotion. It belonged to the supreme overseer of the Zorathian hegemony, a towering insectoid being whose species thrived on order, control, and dominance. Humanity. The voice began, each syllable dripping with condescension. You have reached the threshold of relevance. Your technological progress has drawn our attention, as has your reckless expansion into space. You are no longer insignificant, but insignificance is safer than defiance. A holographic image flickered to life across cities worldwide, massive screens displaying the sleek, angular ships of the hegemony's armada. Their vessels glinted menacingly against the blackness of space, their size dwarfing anything humanity had ever built. The sight alone was enough to send shivers down spines. You will surrender tribute, the overseer continued. Resources, technology, cultural artifacts, all shall be handed over within 10 solar cycles. Failure to comply will result in annihilation. Choose wisely. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving billions of people staring at blank screens or whispering in stunned silence. Panic spread like wildfire. In living rooms, offices, and streets, debates erupted. Should they fight? Could they fight? Or should they bow to the inevitable? Inside the United Earth Council chambers, leaders from every nation gathered around a massive oval table. Screens lined the walls, showing real-time reactions from around the globe. Some argued for submission, citing the futility of resisting such overwhelming power. Others called for resistance, insisting that humanity couldn't let itself be bullied into submission. Elena Voss sat quietly at the far end of the table, her fingers tracing the edge of her notebook. She wasn't the loudest voice in the room, nor the most decorated. At 32, she was one of the youngest diplomats present. But her calm demeanor masked a sharp mind, one that had spent years studying interstellar relations. While others shouted over each other, Elena listened. And then, when the noise died down, she spoke. "What if we say no?" she asked softly, her tone cutting through the chaos like a knife. All eyes turned to her, not because we're suicidal, but because saying yes means giving up everything we are. If we kneel now, we'll never stand again. Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. A few scoffed, calling her naive. Others leaned forward, intrigued. Saying no to the hegemony seemed unthinkable, yet something about her conviction resonated. Humanity had always been defined by its ability to rise above impossible odds. Why stop now? As the council deliberated, Elena stared out the window at the sprawling city below. Somewhere out there, among the stars, decisions were being made that would shape the future of her species. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain. Humanity's response would echo far beyond Earth. The word no hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and ominous. Elena Voss's suggestion had ignited a firestorm across the globe. It wasn't just the United Earth Council that was divided. Entire nations, communities, and families found themselves at odds over what to do next. Some saw defiance as an act of courage, a stand for freedom against an oppressive force. Others viewed it as reckless madness, a death wish disguised as bravery. In the days following the council meeting, protests erupted worldwide. In New York City, thousands gathered outside the United Nations building, holding banners that read, "Stand strong," and "No to tyranny." Their chants echoed through the streets, filling the air with a mix of hope and desperation. But just blocks away, another group marched under signs reading "Peace over pride" and "Surrender isn't weakness." The two sides clashed verbally, their arguments spilling onto social media platforms where hashtags trended for hours. Inside government offices, tensions ran even higher. Leaders argued late into the night, their voices growing hoarse from shouting. Military advisors warned that humanity's defenses were laughably inadequate compared to the Zorathian Armada. Scientists pointed out that Earth's most advanced weapons wouldn't even scratch the surface of the hegemony's shields. Meanwhile, historians reminded everyone of what happened to civilizations that resisted the Zorathians. They were wiped out, their planets reduced to lifeless husks. Elena became the face of the resistance movement almost overnight. Her calm demeanor during interviews contrasted sharply with the chaos around her. When asked why she believed saying no was the right choice, she simply replied, "Because saying yes means we stop being human." Her words resonated with many, but not everyone agreed. Critics accused her of gambling with billions of lives. Conspiracy theories swirled online, claiming she was either a puppet for extremist groups or secretly working for alien factions. The pressure mounted until she barely slept, her mind racing with doubts and fears. Yet every time she considered stepping back, she remembered the look in people's eyes when they heard her speak, the spark of hope she'd ignited. Amidst the turmoil, something unusual caught Elena's attention. Late one night, while reviewing intercepted communications from the hegemony, she noticed a pattern in the data streams. Hidden within the static were fragments of messages, too fragmented to make sense at first glance. Intrigued, she forwarded them to a team of cryptographers who worked tirelessly to decode them. Days later, they uncovered something startling. A series of anonymous transmissions addressed directly to Elena. The sender identified themselves only as the archivist. Each message contained cryptic warnings about the hegemony's intentions, along with hints of internal dissent among their ranks. One line stood out: "They fear you more than you fear them." Elena stared at the screen, her heart pounding. Was this some kind of trap? Or could it be genuine help from someone inside the hegemony? Either way, it added another layer of complexity to an already chaotic situation. As the deadline for Earth's response drew closer, alliances began to form, not just on Earth, but beyond it. Smaller alien species, long oppressed by the hegemony, started reaching out cautiously. They offered intelligence, resources, and even moral support. For the first time, humanity realized it wasn't entirely alone in its struggle. But unity remained fragile. Every decision came with risks. Every alliance carried suspicion. And looming above it all was the question no one dared ask aloud. What would happen if the hegemony decided to strike before Earth could respond? For now, Elena focused on decoding more messages from the archivist. Whatever secrets they held might hold the key to humanity's survival or its downfall. The moment Earth transmitted its one-word response, no, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Across star systems, planets, and space stations, beings of all shapes and sizes paused to process what had just happened. Humanity's defiance wasn't supposed to be possible. In the eyes of the Zorathian hegemony, they were a minor species, barely worth notice, certainly not bold enough to challenge their authority. But challenge they did. As news of Earth's refusal spread, reactions varied wildly. On worlds under the hegemony's thumb, whispers of rebellion began to stir. Smaller alien species, long oppressed by the Zorathians' iron rule, saw humanity's no as a spark of hope. For the first time in generations, they dared to imagine a future where they weren't slaves or subjects, but free beings. Secret meetings took place in shadowy corners of trade hubs and orbital colonies, plans forming like fragile threads waiting to weave into something stronger. Elsewhere, however, skepticism reigned. Many dismissed humanity as suicidal fools who didn't understand the stakes. "They'll be wiped out within days," scoffed a tyrant trader at a bustling interstellar market. Others were more pragmatic, predicting that the hegemony would crush Earth quickly and brutally, sending a clear message to anyone else who might consider resistance. Back on Earth, emotions ran high. Protests continued in cities worldwide, with some groups chanting slogans like "freedom over fear," while others pleaded for peace, waving signs that read, "Save our planet." Governments struggled to maintain order as panic gripped the population. Stores were raided for supplies, and families debated whether to flee to underground bunkers or stay put and face whatever came next. Elena Voss found herself at the center of it all. Her name became synonymous with Earth's defiance, her calm presence offering a semblance of stability amid chaos. Reporters hounded her for interviews, activists sought her endorsement, and critics hurled accusations at every turn. Despite the pressure, she remained focused, spending hours each day analyzing new messages from the archivist. These messages grew more frequent and more urgent. One transmission warned of an impending show of force by the hegemony, likely meant to intimidate humanity into submission. Another hinted at internal fractures within the Zorathian ranks, suggesting that not all of them agreed with attacking Earth. The archivist urged Elena to keep pushing forward, assuring her that humanity's stand was having ripple effects far beyond its borders. Meanwhile, Earth's scientists worked tirelessly to bolster defenses. Engineers retrofitted old satellites into rudimentary weapons platforms, while physicists experimented with experimental energy shields. Though none of these efforts could match the hegemony's advanced technology, they provided a glimmer of hope, a way to fight back, even if only briefly. One evening, Elena stood on the rooftop of United Earth Council headquarters, staring up at the stars. She thought about how small Earth was compared to the vastness of the galaxy, and yet how much weight rested on this tiny blue planet's shoulders. Below her, the city buzzed with activity, a mix of fear and determination driving people to prepare for the worst. Her communicator beeped, pulling her back to reality. It was another message from the archivist. This one contained coordinates deep in uncharted space, along with a single line: "Find this before they do." Elena's heart raced. Whatever lay of those coordinates, it was clearly important and dangerous. As she forwarded the data to Earth's top strategists, she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's fate now depended on uncovering secrets buried in the cosmos. Time was running out, and the galaxy watched, waiting to see if Earth's defiant no would lead to triumph or ruin. The Zorathian hegemony did not take Earth's no lightly. Within days of the transmission, their massive armada loomed over Earth's solar system like a dark storm cloud blotting out the stars. The blockade was absolute, no ships in or out. Humanity was cut off from the rest of the galaxy, isolated and vulnerable. But instead of launching an immediate attack, the hegemony opted for psychological warfare. Massive holographic projections appeared in Earth's skies, visible to billions across continents. These images showed desolate planets, barren wastelands where once thriving civilizations had been reduced to ash. Accompanying each projection were chilling captions written in multiple languages. This was them. This will be you. Fear gripped humanity. Families huddled together indoors, praying for salvation while others lashed out in anger. Governments scrambled to maintain order as riots broke out in major cities. Many began questioning whether Elena Voss's defiant stance had been worth it. Elena herself felt the weight of her decision pressing down on her shoulders. She spent sleepless nights poring over reports from scientists and military advisors, searching for any advantage they could exploit against the overwhelming odds stacked against them. But through it all, she refused to back down. Instead, she used every opportunity to remind people why they couldn't surrender. Not now. Not ever. "You think bowing your head will save you," she said during a live broadcast, her voice steady despite the exhaustion etched onto her face. "They'll take everything we have until there's nothing left. Not our resources, not our culture, not even our dignity. We fight because we are human, and being human means standing up when everyone tells us to kneel." Her words resonated deeply with many, reigniting sparks of defiance that had begun to dim under the shadow of fear. Yet even as morale improved slightly, the situation remained dire. The holograms continued to haunt the skies, their silent threat enough to make grown men cry. Amidst this chaos, Elena received another message from the archivist. This one contained detailed schematics of the hegemony's fleet structure, along with insights into potential weaknesses. One section caught her attention, a note about energy conduits running through their ships' hulls. If disrupted, these conduits could destabilize entire vessels. It wasn't much, but it gave humanity something tangible to work toward. Encouraged by this intel, Earth's engineers worked around the clock to retrofit satellites and drones with experimental EMP, electromagnetic pulse, technology capable of targeting those conduits. Meanwhile, cryptographers decoded more messages hinting at internal dissent within the Zorathian ranks. Some officers apparently disagreed with attacking Earth, viewing it as unnecessary aggression that might provoke wider rebellion among subjugated species. As tensions escalated, strange things began happening near the edges of the blockade. Small alien ships, belonging to species long oppressed by the hegemony, started appearing briefly before vanishing again. They weren't hostile. Rather, they seemed to be observing. Some even transmitted encrypted signals directly to Earth's communications network, offering support or sharing intelligence. One night, as Elena reviewed these transmissions alongside her team, she noticed something peculiar. Several alien groups referenced ancient artifacts hidden throughout the galaxy, artifacts tied to an extinct civilization far older than the Zorathians themselves. Could these relics hold answers? Weapons? Secrets powerful enough to turn the tide? With time running short and the hegemony growing increasingly impatient, Elena made a bold decision. She would lead an expedition beyond the blockade to investigate further. Risky as it was, staying put guaranteed defeat. Taking action, even reckless action, offered at least a sliver of hope. As preparations began, the galaxy watched closely. Would humanity crumble under pressure or rise above it? Only time would tell. Profile: Gwen 2.5 Max. Part 5. Unearthing the Truth. The expedition to Antarctica was unlike anything humanity had ever attempted. Guided by cryptic coordinates from the archivist, Elena Voss led a team of scientists, engineers, and military personnel into the frozen wilderness. The location itself seemed almost otherworldly, a vast ice field stretching endlessly under skies painted in hues of gray and white. Beneath their boots lay secrets buried for millennia, waiting to be uncovered. As they drilled through layers of ancient ice, excitement mingled with unease. What if this was a trap? What if the Zorathians already knew about these ruins and were watching them now? Despite the risks, the team pressed on, driven by desperation and curiosity. They couldn't afford to ignore any lead, no matter how improbable. Finally, after days of relentless effort, they broke through. Beneath the ice lay a cavernous chamber filled with strange machinery and glowing glyphs etched into stone walls. The air inside felt different, charged as though alive with energy. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal holding a crystalline device pulsing faintly with light. Dr. Ravi Patel, the team's lead archaeologist, approached cautiously. His gloved hands trembled as he examined the artifact. This isn't just tech," he whispered, his voice echoing softly in the cavern. "It's something else entirely. Like it's part of the fabric of the universe itself." Elena stepped closer, her breath visible in the freezing air. "Can we use it?" she asked bluntly. Time wasn't on their side. Every second counted. "It's hard to say," Dr. Patel replied, adjusting his glasses nervously. "But based on the readings, I think it might amplify certain energies, or maybe even unlock latent abilities in living beings. We need more time to study it." Time, however, was a luxury they didn't have. Back at Mission Control, reports poured in of increased activity near the blockade. The hegemony's patience was wearing thin. Ships moved ominously closer to Earth's orbit, their weapons systems powering up. Humanity's window of opportunity was closing fast. While the scientists worked tirelessly to decipher the artifact's purpose, Elena reviewed additional messages from the archivist. Each transmission revealed fragments of an ancient civilization that had once ruled the galaxy, not through conquest, but through harmony. Their power stemmed not from domination but unity with the cosmos. And then came the revelation that sent chills down her spine. The Zorathians themselves had once been subjugated by this lost empire before rising to overthrow them. Could this artifact be the key to understanding how the ancients achieved such balance? Could it help humanity fight back against the hegemony without resorting to destruction? Before long, the team made progress. By carefully activating parts of the device, they discovered it emitted energy signatures capable of disrupting nearby electronics. When tested on one of Earth's outdated satellites, the artifact caused its systems to overload temporarily. If scaled up, it could potentially disable entire fleets, including those belonging to the Zorathians. But there was a catch. Activating the artifact required immense focus and coordination. It wasn't just a machine. It responded to intent, as though reading the user's willpower. This realization sparked both hope and concern. Could humanity wield such power responsibly, or would it consume them instead? As word of the discovery spread, debates erupted across Earth. Some argued that using the artifact risked turning humanity into conquerors like the hegemony. Others insisted it was their only chance at survival. Amidst the chaos, Alina remained resolute. She believed the artifact represented something greater than mere weaponry. It symbolized humanity's potential to rise above fear and hatred. With the hegemony closing in, Alina made a decision. She would take the artifact aboard the expedition ship preparing to leave Earth. If they could locate the remaining relics hinted at by the archivist, they might stand a fighting chance. As the team packed up the device and prepared for departure, Alina glanced back at the icy cavern. Whatever lay ahead, one thing was clear. Humanity's future depended on unraveling the mysteries of the past and trusting in their ability to shape what came next. The artifact's discovery sent shockwaves far beyond Earth. News of its existence leaked, whether intentionally or accidentally remained unclear. And soon whispers of humanity's finds spread across the galaxy. For oppressed species living under the Zorathian hegemony's rule, it was a spark of hope. For others, it was a dangerous wildcard that could upset the fragile balance of power. Alina Voss knew they couldn't face the hegemony alone. As leader of the expedition tasked with recovering more relics, she worked tirelessly to forge alliances. Her first meeting came unexpectedly when a sleek, aquatic vessel emerged from the depths of space and docked at Earth's orbital station. Its occupants were the Luminari, an alien race known for their bioluminescent skin and advanced underwater technology. They had been subjugated by the Zorathians centuries ago and now sought freedom. "We have watched you," said Silas, the Luminary ambassador, his voice flowing like water over smooth stones. "Your defiance gives us courage. We wish to aid your cause, but not without conditions." Alina listened carefully as Silas outlined their terms. In exchange for military support, including shield technology capable of withstanding Zorathian firepower, the Luminary demanded access to the artifact's secrets. Their reasoning was simple. If humanity succeeded in overthrowing the hegemony, they wanted assurance that no new tyrants would rise to take their place. The request sparked heated debates among Earth's leaders. Some argued that sharing such powerful knowledge with outsiders was reckless. Others saw it as a necessary step toward earning trust. Alina sided with the latter group. "If we're going to fight for freedom," she said during a private council meeting, "we need to prove we're willing to share it." After tense negotiations, an agreement was reached. The Luminary joined the expedition fleet, contributing ships and personnel. But tensions lingered. Not everyone trusted them, or humanity, for that matter. Rumors swirled about hidden agendas, and factions within both groups questioned whether collaboration was wise. Meanwhile, other alien species began reaching out cautiously. A nomadic trader collective offered intelligence on Zorathian supply lines in exchange for safe passage through contested space. A group of rogue engineers provided blueprints for experimental weapons designed to counter hegemony tech. Each alliance brought new challenges, but also renewed hope. Yet not all responses were friendly. One evening, As Alina reviewed incoming transmissions aboard her ship, the Horizon, a chilling message appeared on her screen. It bore no signature, only a single line. "Beware those who offer gifts. They may seek to control." Was it a warning from the archivist, or someone else entirely? Despite these uncertainties, preparations continued. Scientists studied the artifact relentlessly, learning how to stabilize its energy output so it could be transported safely. Engineers integrated luminary shielding into human vessels, creating hybrid designs that combined the best of both technologies. And strategists mapped routes to the next set of coordinates provided by the archivist, planning for every possible contingency. One night, as the fleet prepared to leave Earth's orbit, Alina stood on the observation deck of the Horizon. Stars stretched endlessly before her, each one representing countless lives hanging in the balance. She thought about the weight of responsibility resting on her shoulders, not just for humanity, but for every species counting on her to succeed. "You look troubled," came a voice behind her. It was Silas, his shimmering form casting soft light across the room. "Is something wrong?" "I'm just wondering if we're doing the right thing," Alina admitted quietly. "We're risking everything, not just our lives, but theirs too." Silas tilted his head, his glowing eyes meeting hers. "Freedom is never without risk," he said, "but neither is submission. Trust your instincts, Alina. That is why we follow you." Her resolve hardened. Whatever lay ahead, she would face it head-on, with allies beside her and mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Humanity's journey into the stars had only just begun. The journey to the first set of coordinates provided by the archivist was anything but smooth. Alina Voss and her crew aboard the Horizon, along with their newly formed coalition fleet, faced challenges from the moment they left Earth's orbit. The Zorathian hegemony wasn't idle. They sent scout ships to track the expedition, probing for weaknesses in the makeshift alliance. As the fleet approached the edge of known space, tensions ran high. Each jump through hyperspace brought them closer to uncharted territory, where dangers lurked around every corner. The first trial came when they encountered a field of asteroid-sized drones, remnants of an ancient defense system left behind by the same civilization that created the artifact. These drones weren't passive. They fired beams of energy at anything that entered their radius. "We can't just blast our way through," warned Captain Marcus Hale, commander of the Horizon. "If we trigger too many, they'll swarm us." Alina turned to Dr. Patel, who had been studying the artifact incessantly since leaving Earth. "Can it help?" she asked. Dr. Patel hesitated before nodding. "I think so. The artifact seems attuned to these kinds of systems. If we activate it properly, we might be able to disable or bypass them." With no other options, Alina gave the order. A small team, including herself, ventured into the drone field aboard a heavily shielded shuttle. As they neared the largest drone cluster, Alina activated the artifact using instructions decoded by the luminary engineers. The device pulsed with light, emitting a frequency that resonated through the void. One by one, the drones powered down, allowing the fleet to pass safely. But this victory was short-lived. At the next destination, a barren moon orbiting a dying star, they discovered another relic hidden within a labyrinthine cave network. Retrieving it required navigating treacherous terrain filled with collapsing tunnels and toxic gases. Worse still, rival scavengers arrived while the team worked, mercenaries hired by factions loyal to the hegemony. A tense standoff ensued as both groups claimed ownership of the relic. Alina tried diplomacy, appealing to the mercenaries' leader, a grizzled human named Jax Torin. "You don't owe the Zorathians anything," she argued. "Why die for them?" Torin sneered but hesitated. His crew looked uneasy, clearly questioning whether risking their lives for the hegemony was worth it. Before violence erupted, Silas intervened, offering safe passage off the moon if they stood down. Reluctantly, Torin agreed, retreating with his team. Each node presented unique challenges, not only external threats but internal ones as well. Trust among the coalition members wavered as fatigue set in. Arguments broke out over resource allocation and leadership decisions. Some questioned whether humanity should retain control of the artifacts, fearing greed would corrupt them. Elena addressed these concerns openly during fleet-wide broadcasts, emphasizing unity and shared purpose. Through it all, messages from the archivist continued to arrive, providing critical insights about each location. Alongside tactical advice, he revealed more about the ancient civilization's philosophy. Their power stemmed not from domination but harmony, a profound lesson Elena took to heart. By the time they secured the third relic, the coalition had grown stronger despite its trials. Bonds formed between humans, luminary, and even some former mercenaries who chose to join their cause. Each success bolstered morale, proving they could overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. Yet shadows loomed ahead. With each retrieved artifact, the fleet attracted more attention, not just from the hegemony but from others drawn to the promise of ultimate power. And deep within the glowing nodes of the galactic map projected by the relics, questions lingered. What awaited them at the final destination? Could humanity truly wield such immense forces without losing itself? For now, though, Elena focused on the mission. Every step forward brought them closer to answers, and perhaps salvation. With 3 relics secured, the coalition fleet gathered in a secluded nebula to study their findings. The artifacts hummed faintly in unison, their combined energy creating an aura of anticipation aboard the horizon. Elena Voss stood in the ship's lab alongside Dr. Patel, Silas, and a team of engineers from Earth and Luminary alike. They had come far, but none of them truly understood what they were dealing with or how to harness its power. "These relics are more than tools," Dr. Patel said, his voice tinged with awe as he examined the glowing nodes on the largest artifact. "They're fragments of something greater, a network designed to amplify thought, emotion, and willpower." Elena frowned. "You mean, it doesn't just work mechanically?" "No," Patel replied, shaking his head. "It responds to intent, to unity. That's why activating it requires focus and trust among those using it." This revelation sparked heated debate among the coalition members. Some argued that only a select few should wield such power, fearing chaos if everyone tried to use it at once. Others insisted that limiting access would betray the very ideals they were fighting for. Elena listened carefully before stepping in. "We've built this alliance because we believe in freedom for all species, not just humanity," she said firmly. "If these artifacts respond to unity, then we need to act as one. Not as individuals or factions, but as a collective." Her words resonated, though skepticism lingered. To test her theory, Elena proposed a controlled experiment. A small group, including herself, Silas, Captain Hale, and 2 luminary engineers, would attempt to activate the artifacts together. If successful, it could prove their approach was viable. The trial took place in the lab, the relics arranged in a circle around the participants. As they placed their hands on the devices, Elena instructed everyone to focus on a single goal, creating a protective barrier around the fleet. At first, nothing happened. Doubts crept in, voices whispering that they were wasting time. Then, slowly, the artifacts began to glow brighter. Energy surged between them, forming a shimmering dome that enveloped the entire fleet. Sensors confirmed the shield was real. It deflected simulated attacks and even masked their presence from nearby Zorethian patrols. Cheers erupted across the ships, but Elena remained cautious. "This is progress," she said, addressing the crew via intercom. "But remember, this isn't just about defense. It's about showing the galaxy there's another way, a better way, to resolve conflict." As celebrations continued, new messages arrived from the archivist. This time, the tone was urgent. "The hegemony knows you have the relics," he warned. "They're mobilizing everything they have. You must reach the final node quickly. It holds the key to completing the network." But reaching the final destination wouldn't be easy. Along the way, The fleet encountered hostile scavenger fleets eager to claim the artifacts for themselves. In one harrowing battle, the Horizon sustained heavy damage, forcing the crew to make emergency repairs mid-flight. Each skirmish tested their resolve, yet the Coalition held firm, bound by shared purpose. Through it all, Alina kept decoding the Archivist's transmissions. One message revealed his true identity: a rogue Zorathian historian named Callus, who had spent centuries documenting atrocities committed by his own people. His words carried weight when he urged Alina to see the hegemony not as monsters, but as victims of their own hubris. "They fear change," Callus wrote. "Show them another path, not through destruction, but understanding." These insights reshaped Alina's strategy. She began crafting plans not just for victory, but reconciliation. Humanity's defiance wasn't about proving superiority. It was about offering hope, even to their enemies. As the fleet approached the final coordinates, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was leading them towards something monumental. Whatever awaited them, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. The final coordinates led the Coalition fleet to a breathtaking sight, a massive ancient structure floating in the void of space. It was shaped like a colossal ring, its surface etched with glowing glyphs that pulsed rhythmically, as if alive. This was the heart of the network, the nexus where all the relics would unite to unlock their full potential. But they weren't alone. As the Horizon approached, sensors detected an overwhelming presence nearby. The Zorathian Armada, larger than anything humanity had faced before. Thousands of ships surrounded the structure, their weapons trained on the Coalition fleet. The hegemony had anticipated this moment and wasn't about to let humanity succeed. Alina stood on the bridge of the Horizon, her hands gripping the railing as she stared at the enemy fleet through the viewport. Fear gripped her chest, but she pushed it aside. "This is it," she said quietly, addressing her crew. "Everything we've done has brought us here. We can't falter now." Captain Hale nodded grimly. "Orders. Form up with the Coalition fleet," Alina replied. "Activate the shield from earlier. It'll buy us time. And prepare the artifacts. If we're going to win this, we'll need every ounce of unity we can muster." The battle began almost immediately. Zorathian fighters swarmed toward the Coalition, unleashing barrages of plasma fire. Shields flared as explosions rocked the smaller ships, sending debris spiraling into the void. Despite heavy losses, the Coalition held firm, bolstered by the protective barrier created by the artifacts. Yet everyone knew it wouldn't last forever. Amidst the chaos, Alina coordinated efforts with Silas and other leaders aboard the fleet. "We need to get inside the structure," she shouted over comms. "It's our only chance." Silas responded swiftly. "Our engineers will cover you. Take a strike team and make for the entrance. We'll hold them off." Alina assembled a small group, including Dr. Patel, Captain Hale, and 2 luminary warriors. With the fleet providing cover fire, their shuttle darted toward the ring-like structure, dodging enemy attacks along the way. When they reached the entrance, a shimmering portal guarded by automated defenses, Dr. Patel used the artifacts to disable the traps, allowing them safe passage. Inside, the air hummed with energy. The walls were lined with intricate carvings depicting scenes of cooperation and harmony between species long extinct. At the center of the chamber lay a pedestal identical to those holding the relics. As Alina placed the artifacts onto it, the entire structure came alive, glowing brighter with each passing second. Outside, the tide of battle shifted dramatically. The artifact's energy amplified the collective will of the Coalition, creating waves of concussive force that disabled Zorathian ships without destroying them. Fighters fell silent mid-flight, their systems overwhelmed by the surge. Even the massive command vessel, the flagship of the hegemony, began to falter. But the cost was high. Back on the Horizon, Silas led a desperate charge against advancing Zorathian forces, his own ship taking critical damage. Across the fleet, brave individuals sacrificed themselves to protect others, their actions inspiring even greater acts of courage. Finally, as the last artifact locked into place, the structure emitted a pulse of light so powerful it illuminated the surrounding stars. For a brief moment, everyone, human, luminary, and even Zorathian, felt something indescribable, a sense of connection, understanding, and shared purpose. When the light faded, the Zorathian fleet retreated, their resolve shattered, not because they were defeated militarily, but because they glimpsed a future beyond conquest, a vision of unity they couldn't ignore. Elena stepped out of the structure, her face streaked with tears. They had won, not through destruction, but hope. But as she looked around at the battered fleet and weary allies, she knew the hardest part was yet to come, rebuilding what had been broken. The aftermath of the battle was both sobering and inspiring. The coalition fleet limped back toward Earth, their ships battered but their spirits unbroken. The Zorathian hegemony had withdrawn, its forces retreating into the shadows of the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, oppressed species across star systems dared to dream of freedom and humanity. Humanity had proven that defiance could spark change, not through destruction, but through unity and hope. Elena Voss stood on the observation deck of the horizon, staring out at the stars as the fleet approached Earth's orbit. Her body ached from exhaustion, her mind heavy with grief for those who hadn't made it. Yet she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for her team, for their allies, and for the countless lives they had saved. "Do you think we've really changed anything?" Captain Hale asked, joining her by the window. His voice was quiet, tinged with uncertainty. "We've planted a seed," Elena replied, turning to face him. "It's up to everyone else to help it grow." News of the victory spread quickly across the galaxy. On worlds once ruled by fear, whispers turned into shouts of rebellion. Smaller alien species began organizing, demanding autonomy from the hegemony. Even within the Zorathian ranks, cracks appeared. Some officers questioned their leaders' decisions, while others quietly reached out to humanity, seeking guidance. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted in cities worldwide. Crowds gathered in streets and squares, waving banners that read "Freedom for all" and "Together we rise." But amidst the joy, there were calls for accountability. Leaders debated how best to move forward, knowing that wielding such power responsibly would be just as challenging as earning it. Elena stepped away from public life soon after returning home. She didn't seek recognition or reward. Instead, she focused on documenting humanity's journey, the sacrifices, the alliances, and the lessons learned. Her writings became a cornerstone of interstellar diplomacy, offering insights not only into the conflict, but also into the potential for cooperation among species. Kellis, the archivist, revealed himself publicly during this time. Once feared as a traitor, he now emerged as a symbol of redemption. Together with Elena, he worked to bridge divides between the Zorathians and other species, advocating for dialogue over domination. His efforts sparked tentative talks of reform within the hegemony itself. Meanwhile, the ancient relics were placed under joint guardianship, entrusted to representatives from multiple species, including humans, luminary, and even former enemies. Their purpose wasn't to serve as weapons, but as reminders of what could be achieved when beings worked together. As months passed, the coalition evolved into something greater: the Galactic Concord, a fledgling alliance dedicated to peace, exploration, and mutual respect. Though fragile, it represented a new chapter for the galaxy, one built not on conquest, but collaboration. On a quiet evening, Elena returned to Antarctica, standing alone in the cavern where it all began. The pedestal sat empty now, its artifact joined with the others in safeguarding the future. She smiled softly, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. Humanity had started as a small, insignificant species, but through courage, determination, and trust, they had become a beacon of hope. As she gazed at the icy walls around her, Elena whispered two simple words: "Thank you."